Who can deny that food can improve our health? But equally, we can't deny also that it can do harm to our lives. And as time moves on, it seems that the latter fact is more prone to be true. All over the world, numerous scientific inquiries have been done with the common goal of promoting the health beneficial power in food or of finding new ways to employ food for the benefit of our health. No doubt, a number of our foreign participants are doing their researches in this same vein, and Professor Mangkestuti Agil from Indonesia is one of them.
It was found long time ago. People didn't know that all of the plant-based materials are good for health. They just know that it's delicious because of its flavor. But now they start knowing it. I give you an example, such as spices from the ginger family. There are so many scientific research conducting to know more about the anti-tumor and anti-cancer properties of those rhizomes. And the result of the research gave a very promising result, benefits especially for the health of human cells. And the health status of human cells will contribute to good and prosperous status of a human being. So I would, as a researcher, I would suggest people, especially from the Asian community, to keep tracing our cultural heritage as a best way to reach a healthy society, because health is number one.
Apart from scientific effort to investigate pharmacological properties in traditional natural plants you just see, business efforts to market a kind of food invention called functional food are sharply increasing nowadays. Functional foods are foods and beverages providing health benefits beyond the nutrients they contain naturally, such as fruit juices fortified with antioxidant vitamins or cereal-based foods containing high fiber. Discussing its current business and cultural trends, both in local and global level, is a chair topic concerned by a few of our speakers.
The difference between the trend of the functional foods from the Western and Eastern countries, also based on the difference in terms of the consumers' attitudes and the consumer behaviors. In terms of the weight management functional food, the Western consumers prefer the food with high proteins because they are mainly familiar with that kind of meaty food with very high in protein as the main dish in their everyday food. So they can accept any kind of functional food with high proteins and help they maintain the weight with good health. But for the consumers in the Eastern countries, like in Asian countries, they may not prefer the food with very high in protein because the consumption of protein is somewhat limited in the Asian countries. For example, they prefer the rice, they prefer the like the vegetables and fruits, but less of the meat, less of the protein source in the dish. So the way to create the functional food with weight management benefit will mainly focus on the fiber, which is not the protein ingredients, and also add it with the extract from the plant that help control the weight.
The connection between the success of a new invented food product and its ability to meet the key cultural elements inherent in each particular society is further confirmed by Professor Anjum from Pakistan.
Each province has its own traditions, has specialties in Pakistan. So each province has a specialty. As far as the conflict with the new innovations in the food is concerned, there is the scientists, they are trying when they are developing the food that they should not they should meet the tastes of the people where we want to introduce them. So this is very important. If we are introducing any innovation which is against or which is not preferred by the culture of the people, by the tradition of the people, by the religious point of view, then that is never acceptable. So always the innovation should be compatible with our tradition, with our heritage, then it will be successful.
However, it seems for Professor Amjun that there might be the other key factors, and possibly the more influential one, that determines the success or failure of a new invented food product.
In Pakistan, during the last decade, lot of changes have been taken place in the sector of food. Lot of new hypermarts, supermarts have been established from the foreign countries, as well as the local enterprises have also been established, and the trend is changing. The families, both the male and female, they are engaged in the jobs, and they want to have ready to eat foods, and in the ready to eat foods there are a lot of innovations which are taking place, and the people are accepting this change, provided they have the money, they have the purchasing power. So the most important critical factor for the innovation and the acceptance of innovative food is the purchasing power of a common man.
Apart from innovations for health promotion and from economic ease of access, there is another area of research drawing much attention from many food scientists, especially from the Asian ones. Though this research area sounds not scientific at its core, typical research done in this area is hardcore scientific. The research topic about food we are talking about is a topic about one of human basic sensations, that is, taste and deliciousness. Here Professor Yamamoto from Keio University will talk of how science can tell us something interesting about this basic human sensation.
And 100 years ago, the Professor Ikeda, Japanese, studied why the dashi is good taste. He discovered umami in the dashi, kombu dashi. And he also discovered that the key element of the palatability is glutamic acid. It's a kind of amino acid. So he also discovered that the salt form, glutamic acid, it is called glutamate. It is particularly known as monosodium glutamate, MSG. MSG is very delicious. If you put MSG into food, the food becomes very delicious. This is not Japanese food, but it's all Asian or Western food. The very palatable food all contains glutamic acid very much. There are many natural foods that contains much glutamate or other umami substances, umami key element. So you should use those food that contains much umami elements. And also, if it is difficult to find those umami-rich foods, it is advisable to use monosodium glutamate, which is a pure form of umami substance. So it is not dangerous to our body it is a kind of natural substance. So I would like to recommend to use monosodium glutamate or something like that instead of using natural umami-rich food. So you will get the food more delicious, more palatable, or more savory. So that the future thing to do to increase the food more delicious.
And a young Thai scientist from Chulalongkorn University here will tell us some application of scientific finding on umami, which can help us more than we might think.
Recently, the scientists found that on our tongue has the umami receptor. That's why we can recognize the umami taste in our tongue, and we accept that the umami taste as the basic taste. The same like the sweet taste, salty, sour, and bitter taste. And implication about umami taste that I study now is involved about the food intake behavior in the children, and also the umami taste can help the elderly people to improve their appetite, to increase the food intake and increase the quality of life of the elderly.
So taste and deliciousness seem to be more than a halfway of a dish of food to be well accepted. In some cases, the success of a food dish in a market requires something far more than making it taste good. To add some new attractive things into a recipe is by no means just making it healthier, cheaper, or more modern. So the venture of making some food product to become successful needs a kind of differentiating that food in terms of cultural branding, while some need such differentiation in a deeper level. Here are two examples of a food trying to make itself shine in the market by its own distinctive way. Both have the Far East Asian base, and both base itself on the belief in something more than meet the eyes.
Pearl bubble tea, I think now it's probably one of the most popular drink worldwide, I would say. And it is created in Taiwan. Pearl is actually a glutinous ball like tapioca, which is a very popular Taiwanese traditional dessert. So we've already had it in our traditional dessert food. And the tea drinking culture, of course, in Taiwan, it's been there for a long time, and everybody drinks tea. We've learned that drinking the afternoon tea or black tea from the Japanese. And so actually they kind of mix and match these two, the dessert and the tea together, and to create this drink. Now the new pearl bubble tea industry have many brands of their own, and then they not only serve pearl bubble tea but also smoothies with a different kind of fruits. Actually, every dish tells a story, and that is important for branding of the Taiwanese cuisine, because only by telling the history, the story of the dish, then it gets to be preserved, and also it has a meaning of it. Branding Taiwanese cuisine is important because after all the evolutions and the mixed of different kinds of cooking style that flourish on this island, I think Taiwanese food now has its own, because it has innovated many different kind of cuisines and finally have developed sort of like a Taiwanese style of eating, which is taking from the Chinese in the 16th, 17th century simplicity of the Chinese food, and also the Japanese kind of elaborated, decorative sushi or cold dish demonstration. And so there become like a marriage of different cuisines. And so, and I think it's not only the economic reason, it's also for our future generation to know through the cooking stuff, through the cuisine, that they will understand what their past, especially the cultural heritage, is all about.
For the last decade in South Korea, an ancient food tradition has been modernized. It's originated since the first Buddhist monastery was established in Korea, so that monks and nuns have used it as a means supporting their meditative practices to attain enlightenment. We are talking about a 1700 years old Korean temple food, a culinary tradition prohibiting animal meat, strong other ingredients along with artificial seasonings in its recipes, on the belief that it would help cultivating both equanimity of mind and economy of consumption. Today, branches of a Korean temple food restaurant named Bawu Gongshang offers themselves as an alternative way for the people in secular world to become more sensible and more considerate in taking their meals.
우리가 2009년도 4월에 오픈해서 지금 만 3년이 지났는데 우리도 놀랄 만큼의 매출을 올리고 있고 세 군데에서 매출은 본점만 상당히 좋고 나머지는 거의 우리가 서비스 차원에서 제공하고 있다. 낮은 가격. 이 사람들은 우리가 그 종교적인 것이 한국의 정서에서의 불교는 많은 사람들이 너무나 잘 알고 있다. 한국의 정서에서는. 그리고 그동안의 언론을 통해서 상당히 많이 지속적으로 확산이 됐기 때문에 자연스럽게 여기는 독특한 음식이라는 걸 이미 알고 온다. 그리고 상당히 정갈하고 프레시하고 내추럴한다는 것을 그냥 신뢰를 한다. 그렇기 때문에 우리가 굳이 막 말하지 않아도 이것은 다 전달이 되고 있다라는 말이에요. 내지는 자기 마음의 어떤 다짐, 마음의 평화를 원해서 오는 사람들도 많거든. 이것을 체험해보고 내 복잡한 것도 내려놓겠다라는 그런 다짐을 하고 오기 때문에 우리가 그런 정신을 굳이 말하지 않더라도 사람들이 그 음식을 와서 먹으면서 이건 뭔가 다르다라고 에너지가 다르다라고 말들을 한다고.
Even a droplet of water is seen to contain the grace of the Buddha. That's the fundamental philosophy of Korean temple food. Accordingly, in the restaurants, meals are carried out to the customers in silence and humility, convincing them from the first step that even a tiny dish of food in front of them can be full of love and peace.